Hashira training is finally underway, but it seems as if there are still lingering scars from the entertainment district we need to discuss, as well as the reveal of a brand new Upper 4. There is so much to discuss with this episode of Demon Slayer, so let's just go ahead and jump right into it and grab this 10% discount of gamer subs using C Tactics at checkout. Whether you want some delicious gamer subs to help you focus, merch to rep your favorite VTubers, or some waifu cups to show off to your best buds, check out the pinned comment, get 10% off your orders. This episode picks up with Hashira training. Literally, we see all of these new cadets be put through their literal ringer as Tengen and his best girl wives train them relentlessly. The first thing I noticed is that all of these men are jacked to the gills. Seriously, if you're someone who likes muscular men with like 0% body fat, you won this episode. And good for you. Things change though when Tanjiro arrives, and while the others struggle to get through the training, Tanjiro seems pretty excited by it all. I mean, this is more of a joke than an analysis, but this episode made Tanjiro seem a lot like Gon Freeze with how excited he was to essentially go through the hellish Hashira training. But that's our Tanjiro, a good boy who would fight through the literal pits of hell with a smile on his face if it helped others. We also get fully reintroduced to Tengen's wives, Hinatsuru, the trad wife, Makio, the tomboy wife, and Suma, who was Aqua but not as useless. I like how they make note of how much Tanjiro has grown as well, like how Makio says he has the face of a man. It's a really small note, but kind of a big one because it's just another example of how far Tanjiro has come and how he looks to other people, which is to say, he looks, I guess, manly now, right? While the new trainees train under Tengen, we get our first hint of what the villain of this season is going to be, an Upper 4 that is introduced via a cliche horror movie trope. The guy scaring the other guy in the dark, making it seem like some monster got him, you know the one. It seems as if word has gotten around about the demons searching for Nezuko, as these two trainees know all about this. And I gotta say that I also love the music in this scene as it fit perfectly. It was like one of those tracks where it drifted at like 440 hertz, but it was done in a sort of menacing way to blend the horror element of the scene. Really cool stuff, very creative to do it this way as well. But our villain of this season seems to be an eyeball ranked Upper 4. This has to be just like his body part, right? But if this Upper 4 is just an eye, they could do some really cool stuff this season. Have it be horror themed, like have the eye invade a person's body and take it over that way. That would be so rad if they were able to pull something like that off, but you know, we shall see. My bet though is the eye is going to be used to infiltrate the Hashira training. Speaking of, the visual of Tanjiro carrying a guy twice his size on his back is hilarious. However, Tanjiro is setting a great example for the trainees as they witness Tanjiro in his element training. So they ask him some questions about what he's been through, and he reveals it all in some pretty gritty detail, but in a way that Tanjiro only knows how to, which is with youthful exuberance. This scene and a large part of the episode really focused in on how different Tanjiro is compared to the normal trainees. Tanjiro is this rare, gifted individual who maybe didn't have fighting come to him naturally, but his attitude and discipline were what was gifted to him from working in the mountains with his family. And it's a rather interesting viewpoint because the trainees view Tanjiro as this insanely gifted person that they couldn't ever reach, but Tanjiro is much more like them than he is like a Hashira in terms of his origins. The overall message here though, like the episode, is that despite who you are, whether you're gifted or not, you can really do anything as long as you train and discipline yourself. You may not be Tanjiro, but you'll be you at your absolute best, which is really all that matters. Like how the trainees said, there are worlds that we ordinary people cannot understand, but the overall message is pretty clear despite this. Just discipline yourself and train, right? The training continues though as the best girl wives come by and chat up Tanjiro about Tengen's training methods. They sort of talk about his Hashira training methods, but Tengen comes by to reassure them that he would really never treat a trainee unfairly, which gives some insight into how the Hashira feel about trainees, at least some of them. They're not here to punish them, but really to lift them up. Of course, be still harsh because this is a harsh world and it's a very harsh job. You have to be tough to survive it. But Tengen isn't trying to program soldiers, he's trying to raise great warriors to defend the people from demons. Now, this is also shown in a brief flashback to Tomioka and Tanjiro eating their noodles, where the aforementioned hands basically Tanjiro the victory in their eating contest. Also, I can't help it. Tanjiro was just so adorable with his facial expressions. Why is he best boy? Sanemi and Obanai have a great moment between themselves. Obanai and Sanemi lament the state of the trainees as being useless, but hey, it's the master's will, so they are still doing it despite not believing in them. And it really goes to show that while many Hashira will do things one way, others still have different viewpoints and beliefs to the contrary. As for the meeting, they are here to talk about what they saw at the castle and further discuss what's going on with the stuff around Nezuko. But while they really can't wrap their heads around what they saw or what any of it means, they believe that this must be some form of omen of misfortune for the Corps. And I do appreciate how Obanai realizes that this calm is the calm before the storm, the brief respite that will most assuredly end with a climactic battle for sure, and it's another signal that the series is coming to an end, and I am so here for it. But until then, it seems the two want to engage in a battle themselves, which, I can't wait for the next episode. It's gonna be so good. We then get this nice moment between Tanjiro and the wives. They give Tanjiro some Gyokuro tea, which apparently, from my research and in a new segment I'm calling Sea Tactics Tea Fun Facts, Gyokuro tea is a green tea that has an abundance of heartily sweet umami flavor with a dew-like aroma, less astringency, and a thick character. This shade-cultivated tea is one for slowly sipping and savoring. And this is obviously good info for those who like to, the riz the ladies up like they're the main character of Fire Emblem or something. The three wanted to thank Tanjiro, though, for what he did in the entertainment district. They believe that without them, they likely wouldn't have been able to make it through alive. And for Tengen, it's not easy on him either. He has been blaming himself over what happened and withdrawing from people. Taking all of that responsibility onto himself, the three wives tell Tanjiro to defeat Muzan. And I really like this because it shows how each battle affects everyone differently. You'd think for a man as tough as Tengen, he would see reason and be able to cope with it, but clearly, to some degree, he cannot. It makes sense, as many people lost their lives in that arc, and I imagine being as powerful as a Hashira makes the stakes that much higher for every single one of them. Also, quick plug, I did cover all of the episodes of the Entertainment District arc, so check them out in the upper right card. Tengen then engages the trainees in a special mock battle where he is the demon and everyone else is supposed to defeat him at night in the mountain, and as you'd suspect, it doesn't go too well, as many of the trainees are scared at the sheer raw power that Tengen has, even with one arm. However, it's Tanjiro and the confusion of Tengen taking them out one after the other who rallies the troops as best he can. It doesn't work, but we do get a showdown between Tengen and Tanjiro, and it is something to behold. Tengen's blows are so powerful, even with one arm, and as well, it's quite impressive that Tanjiro can seemingly hold his own with a Hashira. But finally, the trainees join in and corner Tengen using their numbers to try and overpower him, and after the fight, still getting beaten by Tengen, the trainees, while being unsure if they'd be able to take on a demon themselves, still carry hope that Hashira and Tanjiro can defeat the upper ranks in Muzan, which is hopeful, very, very uplifting. The next morning, Tengen reminds Tanjiro that nothing will end unless they defeat Muzan Kibutsuji, no matter how many upper ranks they take out. The wives then send Tanjiro off to the next Hashira, which happens to be Muichiro, the other bestest boy of Demon Slayer. Seems his style so far, though, is just beating the crap out of all of them. My theory, though, is that Tanjiro will add some sort of rigidity and teach Muichiro how to train with his experience and his closer connection to him. After all, Muichiro doesn't seem to be the one to train many others well or at all. He seems more of a lone wolf type, but that being said, I am super hyped for the next episode. I adore Muichiro so much, and I think he's a spectacular character, so I'm eager to see what they'll come up with and how he has progressed as a person since we last saw him. As for this episode overall, very short, simple, sweet, and to the point, as I think the next episode will be too. However, I do expect them to introduce even more of who the main villain will be in the next episode, though I did think this episode was really fun. And this season so far has been actually very good and pretty consistent, and already has some like all-time standout episodes under its belt. So can't wait. Let me know your feelings on this episode in the comments section below. As well, check out my previous Demon Slayer content with these handy dandy end cards here. Also, have a good day, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow with a new episode of Ranger Reject. Bye-bye.